Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Fahad again with a video, and this time the video is all about production possibility curve, and this is an important chapter for economics. And if you haven't subscribed the channel, do subscribe for the latest updates you would be receiving from here. So let's start with the PPC curve. What do you mean by the word PPC? PPC is that it shows the maximum output. I write it down. It shows the maximum output a country can produce. Maximum output a country can produce. Okay. We assume one thing in PPC curve that there are only two products. Sorry, there are only two products. One is capital goods, another is consumer goods. So let's unpack these definitions before we proceed forward. One is capital goods, another is consumer goods. It shows the maximum output. So there are only two goods. So for the simplicity of explaining the concept, that PPC curve is only talking about two goods. So if we talk about capital goods, what are capital goods? Capital goods are those goods which are further processed. Okay, used for further processing. If I just redefine the definition, used for further processing, let's suppose I write it down as an example. I'll just give you the example. Further processing, and examples could be screwdrivers, and examples could be machines. If you know, all of these things are not used by the person. They are used to produce something, yet they are used to give something out. Let's suppose if I have the machine and I have the raw materials, I put the raw materials in the machine, and the machine is giving me an output. Sorry, output means that the product will go out in the market, and when the product will go out in the market, so that will be sold in the market. So ultimately, capital goods are not consumed directly, they are not used directly, they are used to make something else. So that's why it is called screwdrivers and machines. Majority of times you will get the MCQs in the O levels or IGCSE, you will get this thing that capital goods are machines. That's it. If I give you the simple formula for capital goods. So if we talk about consumer goods, for a consumer goods, those goods which are consumed directly. If I use the word consumed directly, so people are just very confused. They just talk about the food. It's not about the food. It's about those things which are used directly. They are not further processed. If I give you an example, cell phones could be an option, could be an example. Laptop could be an example. AC, that is air conditioners, could be an example. There are lots of examples of that. So consumer goods which are used directly, they are not used to produce something else. They are used directly, and you consume it, you use it, and that's it. Maybe you could also include food in that. Let's suppose if I'll not go for the branding purpose over that in this class, but again, if I say this thing, maybe if I talk about the food, and the food could be different, what we could say, different biscuits. Okay, and that could be of different brands. I'll not name anyone. Okay, so consumer goods and capital goods. So maybe if we go backwards, so the concept arises from the basic economic problem. I hope you all have learned the basic economic problem. What is basic economic problem? Basic economic problem is saying you have unlimited wants. Okay, you have unlimited wants versus limited resources. So you cannot satisfy all your wants. That is the basic problem. That's why we are studying economics over here. Unlimited wants means, I explained the word wants in the first chapter, where it is saying wants are those things which we need for our comfort and convenience, which we need for our comfort and convenience. But the problem is that that is not necessary. Even we can survive in this world without the comfort and convenience, but still we want to have those goods. So that's why there are unlimited wants. We keep on demanding more and more goods from other people, and that's why there is unlimited wants but limited resources. What are resources? If I give a quick recap of that, resources are those things which are used to produce something. These are factors of production. There are four factors of production. What do you call that? CELL. Okay, what is that? Capital, enterprise, land, and labor. So there are four factors of production. So what happens because of this phenomena, because of this problem, we have to go for a choice. We cannot choose everything, we cannot produce everything. So in order to go for a choice, we go for the concept of opportunity cost, and after the concept of opportunity cost, there is a production possibility curve which is used over here. What is the opportunity cost? The next best alternative. Okay, the next best alternative given up. I'm not writing the whole definition, but again, you know this thing very well. Giving you a quick recap of that, let's suppose there were two pens. One was blue, another was red. Let's suppose if you chose red pen, so blue pen will become your opportunity cost. A good choice will be a lower opportunity cost. Again, another example of that could be, maybe if you're taking this class, if you're watching this video, so you're not watching another video. If you were opting, if you were choosing between the video of sciences or between commerce, so you are watching a video of commerce, so maybe sciences becomes your opportunity cost. So I hope I've given you a short glimpse of this video. Sometimes a question arises that what are the two concepts which are demonstrated by production possibility curve. So first concept is opportunity cost, which is saying the next best alternative given, or whatever you give up will become your opportunity cost. Scarcity, what is scarcity? It is called shortage of resources. What is it? What is it is called? It is called shortage of resources. And what were resources? There were four factors of production. Those are used to produce something. So I hope so far all the ideas are clear. Now coming back to the topic of production possibility curve, for the simplicity purpose, production possibility curve says that there are only two products in this country. So this is an assumption of production possibility curve. One more thing I wanted to tell you over here is that if you are writing capital goods on the x-axis, this is called horizontal x-axis, and this is called y-axis. If you are writing capital goods on the x-axis, so just keep capital goods on x-axis, and if you are writing consumer goods on the y-axis, so keep consumer goods on the y-axis. In every diagram you are writing in your answer, don't make different diagrams. Maybe in any diagram you are saying capital goods is coming on the y-axis and consumer is coming on the x-axis. Don't do that. Decide one thing. One more thing, you could write capital goods on the y-axis, you could write consumer goods on the x-axis. There is no issue at all, but these both goods should be present in a question. Okay, so now this is a production possibility curve, the straight line which shows that this is the boundary, this is the maximum limit. If I write 100 over here, if I write 100 over here, so can we produce both the goods? No, we need to go either for capital goods, we need to either go for consumer goods. If we go for consumer goods, what were consumer goods? Those which are consumed directly. So if we go for consumer goods, so again for tomorrow we don't have any machine at all to produce the goods further in the future time period. So that's a problem over here. So we cannot go wholesome for the capital goods, we cannot completely make all the capital goods, we cannot completely make all the consumer goods. That's a problem. So what we need to do, we need to go for a combination. Okay, that's very important. We need to go for a combination. So if I say that we have to go for a point over here, so this will give me a combination where it is saying, let's suppose I am making 80 capital goods and I am making 60 consumer goods. Okay, so this is a combination, and combinations could vary from one point to another point. So don't worry about this thing that we have to make a good combination. That it all depends on your own choices. This is 90, maybe this becomes 40. And the question arises, what is the opportunity cost? The question is saying, what is the opportunity cost of moving from point A to B? Point A to B. That's a question. If you see this thing, you are coming from point A to B. So let's make a what we can say columns over here. So if I write it down, capital goods and consumer goods. Okay, so these are two goods. This is A and this is B. Okay, so on A part you can see, if you come on the left side, it is saying 60 consumer goods. So I write 60 over here, and in the A point, if you go to the capital goods, it is saying 80 capital goods. For B, you are saying you have 90 capital goods, and for B on the left hand side, if you go, it is 40 consumer goods. Okay, so now after making this columns, it becomes easier for me to calculate the opportunity cost from A to B. You can see from A to B there are 10 units extra which we are receiving, 10 units extra. So I'm getting 10 units extra of what? Of capital goods, correct? And if we go over here from A point to B point, we have to leave 20 units of consumer goods. So how you are saying 20 units? Because earlier it was 60 at point A, now it has become 40 at point B. Okay, so this is very important. So it means you have to leave 20 units of consumer goods to get 10 units of capital goods. Okay, quite clear? So you have to leave, you got 10 units, you received 10 units, and you left 20 units of consumer goods. Now come to the definition of opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost says the next best alternative given. Whatever you leave as an option will be the opportunity cost. So sir, in this example of going from A point to B point, I got 10 units. but I left 20 units. So what is 20 units? 20 units will become your opportunity cost. Okay, first thing. Another thing which comes in the examination, sir, I have already calculated the opportunity cost, but I don't see any option in the MCQs of 20 units. Now, what is the problem for that? So, 10 units of capital goods are received for leaving 20 units. Okay, this becomes a ratio. So, if you simplify the ratio, 10 ones are 10, 10 twos are 20. So, for every 1 unit of capital good you receive, you have to leave 2 units of consumer goods. That's very simple over here. I hope you are getting this idea. Okay. So this is what comes in your examination as an MCQ if you're not able to find the option. So this is something good. We could move from A to B, B to C, C to D, and there are multiple combinations. But for the simplicity purpose, I've given you A to B only in this video. I hope you could just get an idea. Again, if there are questions, you can ask me in the comment box. Okay. Capital goods and consumer goods. Then there is something very important. Okay, this is called capital goods and PPC curve. There are 100 units and there are 90 units. I'm just changing the numbers just because you should not be getting this vibe in this video that there are fixed rules for 100 and 100. The numbers, the capital and the consumer should be equal. No, they cannot. They should not be equal, and they can be equal. It all depends on the examiner of yours. Okay. So if I move PPC curve on the right hand side, PPC1. Always remember you have to denote it by a different name, PPC1. I make the arrows that it is going outside. How PPC curve goes outside? Why it goes outside? Because resources have increased. Okay, what has happened? Resources have increased. In terms of quantity, it has increased. In terms of quality, it has increased. Let's suppose you were earlier doing agriculture. Now the land has become better because of using some fertilizers, and then you are getting more production output from there. So there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. These all 4 would have increased in some combination. That's why your overall production capacity, your overall production limit is increasing. So maybe if I write it down 110 and 120 over here. So it means now we can produce 120 units of consumer and 110 units of capital goods because of an outward shift. We call it as an outward shift. We call it as economic growth because growth is denoted by this graph, and we call it as left side shift. Not left side, it's right side. Okay, excuse me for that. Right side shift because it's going on the right hand side if you observe the diagram. So these 3 words are used in the examination. Now a decrease. So let's talk about the decrease of this. Capital goods are there. Consumer goods are there. Now I make a diagram of PPC. Now this time I'll show a decrease. Okay. Always remember labeling is very important. You should write this. You should write this. The arrows should be there. The name PPC should be there. Now I'm showing that it is PPC1. Now it is going inside the graph. Okay. If you see this thing. So if it is coming inside the graph, so it means it is decreasing. Resources have decreased. Now it's opposite. Resources have decreased. In terms of quality, in terms of quantity. Maybe the land is not producing something good. What is land? All the natural resources. So if the natural resources, the agriculture produces low, so again it has decreased. Earlier, it was able to produce 100 units of capital, 100 units of consumer. Now they are able to produce 80 of capital and 70 of consumers. What do we call this in our answers? We call this as inverse shift, inverse left shift, left side shift, and we call it as decrease in growth, decrease in economic growth. Okay, because this is not a growth word, this is not growth. Decrease in economic output. Either you can write this rather than growth. Okay, so this is how it becomes. Now the last thing which is very important before we conclude this video is this: capital goods and consumer. So the graph. Now you can see the graph is increasing in terms of this. The origin remains the same, that this point remains the same, but this is increasing. It means there are only capital goods increasing. So maybe there was 100, now it is 120, and this is only 100. Okay. So I'll just make it better so that you could see this diagram very well. 120. So this means that resources have increased, but what resources? Resources have increased. I'll write it down in have increased, but which type of resources? The capital has increased. That means the machines have increased. Maybe there could be more training, there could be better equipment which would have increased the capital thing, but again because of any reason your capital goods are increasing. So this is also called growth, but growth in capital goods only. Okay, so I hope you are able to just understand this. Now there could be another scenario in this video, and this could be this. Capital goods over here, and it is consumer goods. And then what you do, you just change this. Your origin remains same. Now you start your point from here till here. Earlier you were going for 100 units. Now you have got 120 units of consumer, which means it is increasing. But here you only have 100 units of capital. So you have to show this shift. You have to make an arrow. Okay. So you can make an arrow that it is increasing. So now your resources have increased. Okay. Resources have increased, but which resources? It could be land. It could be labor. It could be entrepreneurs. Sir, why not capital? Because capital is machines. We cannot say that machines have increased. So I hope I have covered all the aspects of production possibility curve. If there is a question that what concepts are reflected by production possibility curve, you say it is scarcity and it is opportunity cost. How it shows opportunity cost? You say that there are 100 units of this and 100 units of this. So we have to choose any of one. We cannot go for both. We can go for both, but we have to make a combination. Okay, we cannot make complete units of capital and consumer at the same time. This is how opportunity cost is demonstrated. Scarcity, as we are making a choice, so that's why it shows that it is scarcity, because resources are limited. And what are resources? Again, you can go on to explain that in your answer, and that will give you the good length in the answer part. So I hope you've understood this video. Share this video with your friends. Like, comment, and subscribe. Okay. Thank you for watching and bearing with me.